Ma'am, leave now. This is no costume. I'm Captain Carter. Move aside.
You ever had one of those moments where the world just stops and you're standing there, caught in someone else's mistake, wondering how it got this far? I'm talking about the kind of moment where you're doing your job, minding your own business, and suddenly you're the villain in someone else's story. That's exactly what happened to me on a crisp October morning, aboard Horizon Air's Flight 322, headed from Seattle to Dallas. My name's Captain Lena Carter, and let me tell you, I never thought I'd be fighting to prove I belonged on my own damn plane. It started like any other day. I was striding through first class, my pilot's cap tucked under my arm, for gold stripes on my uniform glinting under the cabin lights. I was headed for the cockpit, ready to get this bird in the air, when this flight attendant Jessica Hayes, her name tag re-rolled a beverage cart right in front of me, blocking the aisle like she was guarding the gates of heaven. "Ma'am," she said, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "You need to leave this aircraft immediately." I froze, my hand still on my briefcase. "Excuse me," I said, keeping my tone steady, though my heart was already picking up speed. Jessica pointed toward the exit door, loud enough for every passenger in first class to hear. "This is a restricted area. You can't just walk around in a costume." A costume? I glanced down at my uniform, crisp, tailored, the same one I'd worn for 20 years, ever since I earned my commercial pilot's license at 24. The Horizon Air logo was embroidered on my chest, my captain's badge pinned right next to it. I looked back at Jessica, her arms crossed, her lips pursed like she'd already made up her mind about me. "I'm Captain Lena Carter," I said, slow and deliberate. "I'm piloting this flight." But Jessica wasn't having it. She smirked, her eyes flicking over me like I was some kid playing dress-up. "Nice try, miss. Real pilots don't look like you." The cabin went quiet, the kind of quiet where you can hear your own pulse. A kid in 2I's name was Jamal. I'd learn later pulled out his phone, his thumb already on the record button. "Yo, y'all seeing this?" he muttered, his Instagram live kicking off with a handful of viewers. Other passengers started to stir, some leaning forward, others whispering. I could feel their eyes on me, waiting to see what I'd do. Jessica's words hung in the air like smoke, and I swear, in that moment, I could have laughed at the absurdity or screamed. Instead, I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my credentials, holding them up so she could see the FAA seal, my name, my license number. "This is my ID. I'm scheduled to fly this plane." Jessica barely glanced at it. "Nice fake," she said, waving her hand like she was shooing a fly. "Did you get that off Etsy or something?" She turned to the passengers, her voice dripping with fake reassurance. "Folks, don't worry, we'll have this handled in no time." A guy in 1B, some suit with a Wall Street Journal, lowered his paper and frowned. "She's clearly a pilot," he said, his tone sharp. "Maybe you should check her ID properly." Jessica shot him a look. "Sir, please, let us handle this. Some people will do anything for attention." The overhead speaker crackled, and my co-pilot, Captain Mike Sullivan, came on. "Flight 322 passengers, we're experiencing a brief delay. We'll be in the air soon." His voice was calm, professional, but I could hear the edge in it. Was probably wondering where the hell I was. I'd flown with Mike for years. He knew me better than most. We'd logged hundreds of hours together, trading stories about our kids, our hometowns, the way the skies looked at 30,000 feet. And here I was, stuck in the aisle, being treated like I'd snuck onto the plane for a joyride. "Jessica," I said, reading her name tag again, my voice low but firm. "I need you to step aside so I can get to the cockpit." She didn't budge. Instead, she crossed her arms tighter, her radio already in her hand. "And I need you to exit this plane before I call security. You're holding up our schedule." Jamal's phone was still rolling, his viewer count climbing 50, 75, 100. Comments were popping up. "This is wild. She's a pilot. WTF. Is this for real?" A woman in 2C, maybe in her 50s, leaned forward. "Young lady, that pilot's been nothing but professional. Maybe you're the one causing a scene." Jessica spun around, her face tightening. "Ma'am, I'm doing my job. We can't have random people wandering around in pilot costumes. It's a security issue." Random people. The words hit me like a slap. I'd been flying since I was a teenager, got my MBA from Stanford, bought into Horizon Air with every penny I'd saved, and now I was random. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Carla Nguyen, Horizon CFO. Board meeting pushed to 4 p.m. Got the new bias training proposal ready. I almost laughed. In a few hours, I'd be pitching anti-discrimination policies to the board, policies I'd written because of moments exactly like this. But right now, I was living the reason those policies existed. Jessica noticed me glance at my phone. What? Taking selfies to post about how you're being treated? She said, her voice thick with sarcasm. Maybe next time dress for your actual job. I raised an eyebrow, keeping my cool. And what job would that be? She smirked, her words slicing through the cabin. I don't know, maybe ticketing? Or cleaning crew. The silence that followed was heavy, like the air before a storm. The suit in 1B folded his newspaper completely, his jaw tight. Jamal's live stream was blowing up 200 viewers, 300, comments flying. Did she just say that? This is straight-up racism. An older guy in 1D, probably in his 70s, stood up, leaning on his cane. Young lady, I've been flying since before you were born. That woman's a pilot, and you're embarrassing yourself. Jessica's cheeks flushed, but she doubled down. Sir, I'm following protocol. We can't just let anyone what? He cut her off, his voice sharp. The question hung there, unanswered, as every eye in first class turned to her. I reached into my briefcase, my fingers brushing against something I rarely showed anyone, a Horizon Elite card, one of only 10 in existence, issued to the airline's top shareholders. I'd gotten mine 2 years ago when I'd bought controlling shares in Horizon. I could have pulled it out right then, ended this whole charade, but I didn't. Not yet. The speaker crackled again. This is your captain. We're still working through a brief delay. Thanks for your patience. That was Mike, still waiting in the cockpit, probably getting antsy. Jessica pointed toward the speaker like it was proof. See? That's the real pilot. Male, experienced, professional. Jamal's viewer count hit 500, and the hashtag Horizon Bias was starting to trend. My phone buzzed a news alert about a $12 million discrimination lawsuit against another airline. Timing, right? I looked at Jessica, then at the passengers, then at Jamal's phone, capturing every second of this mess. Moments like this, they matter because people see them, share them, feel them. Jessica, I said, my voice calm but heavy. You might want to rethink how you're handling this. But she was already on her radio. Ground control, flight 322, requesting security for passenger removal. And just like that, the situation spiraled. Within 2 minutes, a gate supervisor named Ryan Torres showed up, his radio crackling, 2 security officers trailing behind him. Ryan took one look at Mimi uniform, my briefcase, my posture, and I saw a flicker of doubt in his eyes. But Jessica was his employee, and he backed her play. Ma'am, he said, his voice clipped, you need to come with us. Jamal's live stream was at 800 viewers now, comments exploding. Record everything. This is insane. The suit in 1B stood up. This is ridiculous. She's clearly a pilot. Look at her credentials. One of the security officers, Officer Daniels, raised a hand. Sir, please sit down. We're handling this. But the cabin was turning. The older guy from 1D was on his feet again, joined by the woman in 2C. I've been flying for 60 years, he said, his voice shaking with anger. And this is straight-up discrimination. The second officer, Officer Lee, stepped forward. Everyone calm down. Let us do our job. I noticed something else, more phones. A woman in 3B was streaming on TikTok. A guy in 2A had his camera app open. Even a flight attendant from economy was discreetly recording. This wasn't just Jamal anymore. This was going viral in real time. My phone buzzed again, another text from Carla. Crisis protocol training set for Friday. You good? I almost laughed. Crisis protocol? I was living one. Then the station manager, Karen Walsh, stormed in, her heels clicking like gunshots. What the hell is going on here? She snapped, her eyes darting between me, Jessica, and Ryan. We've got a schedule to keep. Ryan briefed her quickly, painting me as some imposter causing a scene. Karen studied me, her gaze cold, calculating. Even if you're some kind of pilot, she said, her voice dripping with doubt, you're not our pilot. Horizon has standards. The cabin gasped audibly. Jamal's stream hit 1,200 viewers, and Horizon Bias was trending in Seattle. Standards? The suit in 1B repeated, his voice thick with disgust. Karen turned on him. Sir, if you don't sit down, you're off this flight too. Big mistake. More passengers stood up, their voices rising. This is going viral, someone whispered. Good, another said. People need to see this. Officer Daniels was on his radio now. Control, we might need backup at Gate B9. That's when Mike Sullivan poked his head out of the cockpit, his face a mix of confusion and irritation. What's going on out here? Where's Captain Carter? The cabin went dead silent. Ryan stepped forward, all confidence. Captain, we're removing a disruptive passenger impersonating crew. Mike's eyes found mine, and I saw the moment he realized what was happening. His jaw tightened, and when he spoke, his voice was pure steel. That's Captain Carter. We're flying this plane together. Have been for months. Jessica's face went white. Karen's mouth opened, then snapped shut. Ryan took a step back, but Karen wasn't done. If she's really a pilot, why didn't she just prove it? Why cause all this drama? Classic move, flip the blame, make me the problem. Jamal's stream was at 2,000 viewers, comments screaming, Horizon's done for. This is why I don't fly with them. I reached into my pocket, my fingers closing around that Horizon Elite card. I could have flashed it, shut this down in seconds, revealed who I really was. But I held back. This wasn't just about me. This was about every person who'd ever been judged, dismissed, humiliated because of how they looked. People without a fancy card to pull. Officer Daniels, I said, my voice sharp now. Before you escort me off, I'd like to make a call. He shrugged. You can call from the terminal. No, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I'm making it right here. I pulled out my phone and dialed Carla, my CFO, a number I could punch and blindfolded. Carla, it's Lena. Ground all Horizon flights. Now. I gave her the authorization code 93 Bravo 4 and hung up. For a moment, nothing happened. Karen smirked. Jessica crossed her arms, thinking I'd bluffed. Then the departure boards started flickering. Flight 322. Delayed, then canceled. Every Horizon flight on the board followed suit, canceled. Operations suspended. Ryan's radio crackled. Control, what's the status on Horizon Ops? The response was immediate. All flights grounded by executive order. Management's not answering. Karen's smirk vanished. Jamal's stream hit 3,500 viewers, comments going wild. Did she just shut down the airline? Who is she? I pulled out the Horizon Elite card, black titanium, gold lettering, heavier than it looked. I held it up, letting the holographic logo catch the light. My name's Lena Carter, I said, my voice calm but cutting. I'm not just a pilot. I own Horizon Air. The silence was deafening. Jessica's mouth hung open. Ryan's radio slipped from his hand, clattering to the floor. Karen grabbed a seat to steady herself. Officer Daniels was the first to speak. Ma'am, are you saying you're the CEO? Yes, I said, matter of fact. I bought controlling shares 2 years ago. Been flying routes to see how this airline runs from the ground up. I pulled out my tablet, showed my email signature. Lena Carter, Chief Executive Officer, Horizon Air Incorporated. Mike stepped forward, his voice steady. I can confirm. Captain Carter's the best pilot I've ever flown with. And she owns this airline. The suit in 1B started laughing, not because it was funny, but because it was so damn absurd. You tried to kick the owner off her own plane. Jamal's stream was at 5,000 viewers, and Horizon owner was trending nationwide. But I wasn't done. Jessica, I said, turning to her, you said Horizon has standards. You're right. We do. I swiped to a presentation on my tablet, one I'd been prepping for the board. Federal Regulation 121.391 airlines are liable for employee discrimination. Settlements average $25 million for systemic bias. Horizon moves 1.8 million passengers a month, generates $650 million a quarter. This incident, it'll cost us $2.2 million in bookings by tomorrow. Ryan's radio squawked again, urgent now. All units, confirmation from corporate. CEO Lena Carter grounded all flights. Jessica was shaking, her earlier confidence gone. Karen tried to speak. MS. Carter, I'm sure we can. I'm not finished. I cut her off. Horizon's mission statement promises dignity and respect for every employee and passenger. Our handbook bans discrimination based on race, gender, appearance. Both carry my signature. I showed them the policies, the legal clauses, the the penalties that could end careers. Officer Daniels stepped forward, cautious. "Ms. Carter, we were just responding to a call. We didn't know." "I know," I said, nodding. "You followed protocol." The problems with employees who assumed I didn't belong because of how I look. I turned to Jessica, my gaze steady. "You saw my ID. You heard Mike confirm who I was. That should have been enough." Jamal's stream hit 7,000 viewers, comments a blur. She's schooling them. This is iconic. "There's one more thing," I said, checking my watch. In 90 minutes, I was supposed to present a new anti-discrimination policy to the board. Mandatory training, anonymous reporting, instant termination for repeat offenders. I swiped to the policy draft, showing timelines, budgets, the works. I was going to roll it out slow, over 6 months. But after today, we're doing it now. My phone buzzed. Carlo again. Media's calling about the grounded flights. MSNBC wants a statement. I showed the text to the group. This is bigger than this plane now. I looked at Jessica, Karen, Ryan. We've got choices. Handle this internally with consequences and real change, or let it play out in public with lawsuits and PR nightmares. Jessica's eyes were wet, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know." "You didn't know who I was," I said. "But you knew I was a person. That should have been enough." Karen stammered, trying to save face. "What standards were you talking about, exactly?" I asked. She couldn't answer. Carla arrived with our legal team and HR director, their suits sharp, their faces all business. Carla's eyes swept the cabin, taking in the chaos. "Lena, you okay?" "I'm fine," I said, "but we've got work to do." Our legal counsel, Rachel Kim, stepped forward. Under Title VII, employers are liable for employee discrimination. Average settlement last year? $22 million. She laid out documents, regulations, case law, Horizon's policies. Carla pulled up financials. Daily ops cost us $8 million. Grounding flights for an hour? $350,000. This incident's already viral. I turned to Karen. "You make $92,000 a year as station manager. Pension vests in 18 months. Your car payment's $1,800 a month. You've got a kid in college." Her jaw dropped. "How do you?" "I know my employees," I said. "I also know what losing your job means." Rachel chimed in. "Ms. Walsh, you violated policies 4.2 and 6.1. That's grounds for termination." Karen's voice cracked. "Please, I have a family." "So do the passengers you disrespected," I said. "So do the millions who'll see this video." Carla showed her tablet. Horizon Bias has 50,000 mentions in the past hour. 92% negative sentiment. Jamal's stream was at 9,000 viewers, and CNN had picked up the story. I laid out the options. 1. We fire everyone involved, pursue full legal action, let the feds investigate. 2. Suspension, no pay, mandatory training, public apologies, probation. 3. We change the whole damn system. I nodded to Carla. Immediate bias training for all employees. Anonymous reporting at every gate. AI monitoring of employee interactions. And a $4 million fund to train the entire industry. Karen nodded fast. Option 2, please. I turned to Ryan. Your move to ground crew, no supervisor title. Same training. He nodded, defeated. Jessica, I said, termination with a neutral reference, or 6 months unpaid suspension, 250 hours with civil rights groups, probation if you come back. She wiped her tears. Suspension. I'll make it right. I pointed to Jamal's phone. This video? It's going in our training. Your faces, your words, will teach thousands what not to do. Carla set up a camera. Jessica, Karen, and Ryan recorded apologies raw, real, admitting their mistakes. Jessica's was the strongest, owning her assumptions, promising to learn. I called Carla again. Restart ops. All flights go. The board's updated. Flight 322 back to boarding. Jamal ended his stream at 15,000 viewers. As I headed to the cockpit, the suit from 1B stopped me. What you did today? That was incredible. I shrugged. Just doing what anyone with power should, using it for good. 6 months later, I was speaking at the National Aviation Summit in Chicago, 900 industry folks in the room. It all started with a flight that never left on time. I said, my voice steady but warm. And that delay changed everything. Jamal, now Horizon's social media director, was in the front row, grinning. His live stream had hit 10 million views, sparking a movement. Jessica? She's leading diversity workshops now, her story resonating with employees nationwide. Karen's a gate agent, her reviews glowing for customer care. Ryan's in our inclusion department, building policies for disabled passengers. Horizon's numbers tell the story. Discrimination complaints down 90%, customer satisfaction up 40%, employee retention at 95%. 12 other airlines adopted our policies. Delta, United, you name it. Our $4 million fund trained 20,000 workers across 50 airlines. The FAA made bias training mandatory for certifications. Jamal stream, those TikTok videos, they didn't just expose a problem, they forced us to fix it. I clicked to my last slide, a photo of Flight 322's empty cabin. I could have fired everyone and moved on. But real change? That's turning failure into progress. The crowd stood, clapping for a full minute. Later, a young black woman came up to me, her eyes bright. I'm starting pilot training next week. Thank you for making this industry safer for me. That's when it hit. Metas wasn't just about one flight. It was about every person who'd ever been told they didn't belong. A year later, the story's still alive. Harvard's studying it for their business school. Netflix bought the documentary rights, proceeds going to aviation scholarships. Time named me one of their 100 most influential, but the real win? Messages from passengers, employees, strangers. I flew Horizon last month, one read. The crew treated my autistic son like royalty. Thank you. Those stories, those moments, the why we fight. So here's my question for you. Have you ever seen something wrong at work, in your neighborhood, on a flight and felt that spark to speak up? Share your story in the comments. Tell me about the time you faced bias, or witnessed it, or maybe even caused it and learned from it. What's right? What's wrong? What's justice look like to you? These stories, they're not just minute theory hours. They're how we make the world listen, how we make it better. Hit that subscribe button, drop your thoughts below, and let's keep this conversation going. Because when we speak up, bias can't hide.